Hi everybody, it's Nikki from Dutiful Dogs. Sit down and make yourselves comfortable because I'm going to tell you a story. This story is more grim than Andersen, so there will be truth, but not much in the way of a happy ending. The good news is that as an owner, you can change the ending of your story. And so I'll begin. A family decides that now their children are old enough, it's time to get that puppy they've been talking about for a few years. Something cute and cuddly, something that won't cause any problems and will be a nice living teddy bear for their children. They've heard that cockapoos and labradoodles are a great dog to have because they don't shed, they have a lovely temperament, and as an added bonus, they actually look like teddy bears. How cool is that? Other than that, they don't really do any breed research or take genetics into account because let's face it, how many millions of people could be wrong? They scour the Craigslist ads looking for suitable candidates, picture after picture of tiny bundles of cuteness and joy. And finally, they settle on an ad that meets their criteria. The price is right, the breeder isn't located too far away, and the puppies will be ready for homes in a week or so. They go to the breeder's house. An amiable lady living in what, to them, looks like heaven. Puppies running around everywhere, and an air of chaotic warmth. The children get to pick the puppies up and play with them, and the breeder seems very relaxed, so she must know what she's doing, no? A week later, they go to collect their little bundle of teddy bear joy, now appropriately named Teddy, and they bring him home. The first night, they tuck him into his big, soft bed in the kitchen, turn the lights off, and go upstairs to bed. Sometime around 2 a.m., Teddy starts whimpering. His whimpers turn to cries, and then to full-on screams. It's his first night alone, his first night away from his mother and his litter mates. But his breeder never crate trained him or taught him boundaries and security, so now he's a very tiny puppy stuck all alone in a very big space. A good breeder would likely have raised their pups to be comfortable in a crate and would have probably recommended crating to the pup's buyers, but they didn't. They didn't sit down with any of the pup's prospective owners and talk them through what to expect or how to introduce the puppy to their home. They didn't send them home with any proper paperwork or even a small welcome pack. So, Mum does what any kind-hearted soul would do when they hear an animal in distress. She goes downstairs and she brings Teddy back up with her into their bed. "It's only for tonight," she says, "just this one time till he's settled." And that is where the precedent is set, because now the puppy has learned that using his voice works for him. Teddy is loved very much indeed by his new family. He's treated like a little prince. He even has his own toy box, although the box is pretty much redundant since all the toys are strewn all over the floor for him to play with whenever he chooses. He prefers to chew on people's shoes and clothes though, so it doesn't really matter. And his family don't know how to stop him from doing this, because telling him off might frighten or upset him, and besides, when they do try to take things away from him or stop him doing something that might be bad for him, he growls at them and shows them his teeth. So they let him continue because, after all, he'll grow out of it, won't he? Just like human children do. Only Teddy doesn't, because Teddy is not a human child. He's not a human anything. He is a dog. An opportunistic predator descended from wolves, a predator that is being given everything it wants. He sleeps on one of the humans' beds every night and is now growing tall enough that he can jump up on the furniture and snuggle with his family whenever he chooses. His family don't discourage him from jumping on the furniture or try to move him off the beds, because when they do, he growls and snaps at them. It's a little bizarre that something so tiny and harmless looking could be so intimidating, but they're too embarrassed to admit that they are a bit afraid of him, so they let the behaviour continue. After all, it's just a phase. He'll grow out of it, right? Teddy loves his walks. Actually, let me rephrase. Teddy loves his walks as long as the walk goes where Teddy wants to go and stops when he doesn't want to go. If the leash is tugged gently in an effort to get him to move, he explodes in a flurry of growls and yaps and starts ferociously biting at the leash. So his family get him to the park as quickly as they can, and then let him off the leash to play with the other dogs there. Because they don't know any better, they don't realise that they have just rewarded his bad behaviour and terrible leash manners. They have rewarded him by setting him free to do exactly as he chooses. At least, that's how Teddy perceives it. Because Teddy's cognitive processes are not the same as human cognitive processes. Teddy loves to play with the other dogs, particularly the smaller or more nervous ones. He chases them until they are exhausted and hiding between their owner's feet, or they roll on their backs and submit to him. Then he jumps on them and play bites them, just to show them who's in charge. And it's not his owners. The owners, for the most part, stand around laughing at what they believe to be a harmless puppy play date, but what is in canine terms an exercise in establishing hierarchy. After a few trips to the park, other owners seem to be avoiding Teddy's family. They don't understand why. They struggle to get Teddy to come back to them, and when they do, they struggle to get him back on his leash because he nips them. Sometimes he bites quite hard. Getting him home again can be a bit of a struggle too, because often Teddy will just lie down and refuse to walk. Afraid of hurting or upsetting him, they instead pick him up and carry him home, like a human infant. A couple more weeks pass. There are fewer visitors to the house than before. If Teddy is not shut in the kitchen, he controls the door. In fact, he controls the house. He barks frenziedly at people, jumps up on them, and scratches them, tearing their nice clothes. When he is shut in the kitchen to keep him away from visitors, he barks constantly for the entire duration of their visit. His family put it down to him being an overconfident and excitable pup, and something that he will grow out of. He just needs more exercise, right? When Teddy next goes to the vet for his puppy checkup, he bites the vet, hard enough to draw blood. The vet diplomatically suggests that the family reach out to a trainer who can help them stop the biting, as well as showing them how to deal with all the other issues they are having. They contact the trainer and schedule in an evaluation. At the evaluation, the trainer explains why Teddy is having so many problems and how the family can get this pup back on track and put some manners under him. The only caveat being that if they sign up with her, they must strictly adhere to the instructions and training plan she puts in place for them. All of them, no exceptions. There's a training policy on her website to this effect that she gets them to read and agree to before they get started. For a week or so, things seem to be going better. The family is learning to communicate with their puppy in a way the puppy understands very clearly. Old habits are being replaced with new ones. Teddy is calmer and more obedient because now he has boundaries and he feels safe and advocated for. The tiny puppy doesn't have to take control anymore. Everyone is happier. But habits, especially for humans, are hard to break. By the second week, the brattiness and, more worryingly, the biting is starting to creep back in. The trainer sits down with the family and asks some rather pointed questions. They tell her that it's just too hard. With two young children who don't understand what no means and who just want to cuddle and play with the puppy, sticking to rules is something that's just too difficult to maintain. The trainer gently but firmly explains that not sticking to the rules will mean that the children will end up with no puppy at all, because somebody is going to end up being bitten in the face. The family explains that they just want the puppy to be happy and able to run free off the lead and go on doggy play dates. The trainer points out the reasons they cannot do this with their puppy. She explains why freedom has to be understood and earned by the dog. The family looks crestfallen, but agrees to stick to the training protocol she has put in place for them. 3 days before their next scheduled session, they send her a message asking for a refund for the remainder of the classes and thanking her for all her valuable advice, the advice that they have chosen to ignore. A few weeks later, the trainer is at the vet's for vaccinations for her own dogs. Chatting with the receptionist, she finds out that Teddy is no longer with his family. Teddy's unwanted behaviours escalated, and when his breeder refused to take him back, he was surrendered to a rescue. The rescue in question is well known, especially amongst trainers like the one in this story, because they are the trainers who deal with the fallout from the training policies of rescues like these. In the industry, it's what's known as a retail rescue. It doesn't believe in training dogs the way all living beings learn. It believes in ignoring the bad and rewarding the good. Unfortunately, instinctual, opportunistic predators like Teddy don't understand the human concept of bad and good. Teddy's name and picture never do appear on the rescue's rehoming page. I'm sorry if this story was upsetting to you. It's upsetting to me too, because I go through this story or some variation thereof on a daily basis, and it's needless. With a little research and a lot of commitment on the part of dog owners and potential dog owners, stories like this can be avoided. As your trainer, I want you to succeed. I want you to enjoy with your dog the kind of wonderful relationship I enjoy with my own dogs. As your trainer, I can be your greatest advocate. So please, when your trainer sits down with you and tailors a training plan for you, understand that they are doing it for the good of you and your dog, not for the good of their health. Safe training, and thanks for watching.